Do you have an entryway that is awkward, it's not functional, and you don't know what to do with it? Well, me too. So in today's video, I'm gonna give you 5 tips on how to practically and beautifully decorate your awkward entryway. Now, before I do that, I do wanna say thanks to Cricut for sponsoring today's video, but let's start designing. Now, the very first tip I have to offer for your awkward entryway is to choose narrow storage options. Now, almost every single entryway requires a bit of storage so that you have a place for your keys to go, your wallet to go, your shoes, and things like that. And let's face it, in a lot of our homes, there is a lot of spillover. And if there's any place that we, can put some extra storage, we wanna do that. So the entryway is a great place for that. So in my case, I'm actually going to bring these IKEA Hofstas into the entryway. I already own them. I'm trying to redecorate the space with things I already have because, things are expensive. So I'm just transplanting these from my dining room to my entryway. What I did here is I made sure that they were very narrow. These are only 13 3/4 inches deep. So that actually leaves me with 3 feet of walking space still. So people can still walk and do everything they need to do while having these in here. You never want to choose a storage option that takes up too much of the walkway because then you have to shuffle through. It's not practical. And if there is any spillover and you end up putting a lot of decor or, just stuff on top, it can make the space feel really claustrophobic. So be really careful with that. Now, a lot of the time in those grand entryways, you will see people with that nice, beautiful wooden table with all of that space underneath, and that's great. That's ideal, but we can't do that. We are trying to maximize space here. So we want to choose closed storage. We want to do this because we don't want to look at our ugly shoes. We don't want to look at that Mixmaster that we don't always use, but we want to keep. We want to be able to store what we want to store in the entryway, and we want to do it in a way where no one knows what it is. So that's why we want to opt for closed storage. Now, the very best tip I have for your awkward entryway is to add some artwork. So many times in the entryway, we kind of forget about artwork. We just tend to put mirrors up there, and we'll talk about that later, but you need to get some artwork up in your entryway. It will just establish your personality, your design style. Something I find in entryways all the time is that you don't really learn what someone's design style is until you've really formally entered the home, because the entryway, like I said, can be so awkward to decorate. So whatever style of artwork you have throughout the rest of your home, try to introduce that in your entryway. So I have abstract art all throughout my home, and I thought that I would create some abstract line art. So I love line art, right? Because when you're working with line art, you have one line and you don't pick up the pencil and it just creates a weird random shape. And I was really excited about that. So I wanted to make a hallway of faces. I'm no artist, but I thought it would be super fun. I saw something like this in a museum recently and one of my favorite designer stores, and I was like, let's DIY it. So I'm gonna DIY it today using my Cricut Explore 3. And I do wanna say thanks again to Cricut for sponsoring today's video. If you don't know what Cricut is a company that makes smart cutting machines where you can customize just about everything from apparel to mugs to creating your own art like I am doing today. The Cricut is super user friendly. It's really, really easy to use, and it creates your custom pieces with so much precision. You also have the free Cricut Design Space, so it is a free platform where you can upload your own images or find images and text from the Cricut Design Space library and create things that way. To DIY this artwork, I drew something on my iPad, but as I said earlier, there are tons of free images and fonts on Cricut Design Space. My design that I'm actually creating today will actually be available to you on the Cricut Design Space in case you want to use these in your home as well, and I love that you can actually share your designs on Cricut Design Space. So to get started today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually upload the drawings that I made on my iPad to the Cricut Design Space. It's really easy. You actually just open a new project, you're on your canvas, and you're gonna click the upload button. Then you upload your image. I'm gonna remove the background right now because this is line art, so I don't want there to be any skin color or any backdrop. I just want it to be like the single line. I'm removing all of that with the really user-friendly background remover tool, and that is it. Now you can see on my canvas, I have my piece of art, and I'm just resizing it now to make sure it's going to fit in my frames. I actually picked up some square frames. I love square frames. I love that they're just kind of, they're different from rectangular frames because they're a different shape, and I think you don't see them very often, and I love the big mats on these. So I'm making sure that my drawings will actually fit in the mat opening size. The mat opening size is about 12 by 12, so I'm just making sure these will fit within that parameter. After that, all I'm doing is I'm clicking the Make It button, and I'm loading a vinyl cardstock into the Cricut machine. And what I love about Cricut now is they have the smart vinyl, so you literally just stick the vinyl in the machine, you press the button, it loads in there, and you are good to go. When you're working with your Cricut, you want to make make sure that you're selecting the correct type of material that you're using to make sure that the blade is going to cut in the way that you need. So I'm clicking on the cardstock because I'm working with cardstock and it cuts so efficiently and so swiftly. A main reason why I wanted to use my Cricut for this project is I knew that I wouldn't be able to cut this out myself. It was going to be an utter disaster. Now that this drawing is cut out, it's super easy, and we're on to my favorite part of the Cricut process, which is weeding. I don't know, this is so therapeutic for me. I can weed things forever. It is this little tool that you use. You lift up all of the remaining cardstock, which is what I'm doing right now, and removing it. And I'm just peeling everything back so that I have my piece of line art. Now that I have my piece of line art, I need to put it on the piece of paper that I'm going to put in my frame, but I'm just using the transfer tape to put my drawing onto this piece of vinyl because the transfer tape just makes it so much easier to get your design from one place to the other, especially since my line art is so fragile. This is helping me make sure none of the pieces break apart and it stays as one complete piece. And seriously, it is that simple. My drawing is now done and I love the texture here. I love the juxtaposition between the black and the white and the little bit of texture that I get from the cardstock with the Cricut. It just takes it to the next level because it's not just a drawing now, it is something that has some dimension. Love that you can see the jagged lines and more of the strokes of my pencil more with this than you would see with a traditional piece of art because you really have to honestly touch your eyes to the glass to be able to see it. So I love the dimension that I get with this. Now I'm just going to put this in these frames and do the same process over and over again with my other drawings. My plan was to create 6 of these, but now that I'm looking at the entryway, I think 4 would be the best bet. But I love this DIY art process. The Cricut has made it so simple. If I was doing this without the Cricut, I'm telling you this would take hours. So the Cricut is such a great investment. Again, this is the Cricut Explore 3. I have it in mint. I love the color. It's very cute. And if you are doing any custom designs, whether you want to do t-shirts or mugs or pieces of art or labels or anything like that, the Cricut Explore 3 is going to make it so much easier for you, and it is a worthwhile investment. And now I just have some symmetry in the entryway so that you have more of a design. It's a little bit more structured. So mirrors are crucial in an entryway because you want to make sure that you look good before you leave the house. I'm not saying we want to be vain, but we want to make sure that we look good before we leave the house. It's super important, but you also want to be very, very, very tactful with where you place your mirror. You want to make sure you place your mirror opposite of something else that's pretty, right? So I put my mirror opposite the artwork because I know that the artwork looks good. So that's what you're going to see in the reflection. You don't want to put your mirror somewhere or opposite something that's always messy, right? So if you happen to go with like an open sort of storage container, right, you wouldn't want to place the mirror opposite that if you have all of your shoes under there or just lots of mess, right? Because then you can see the mess in the mirror and you're kind of just amplifying the mess. So you want to be strategic with your mirror placement. And of course, in an entryway, you can do a full length mirror, but I like to do a smaller mirror that doesn't take up the whole wall. I did something on one wall that elongated the space, and I felt like if I did a floor length mirror on the other side, it would also just kind of be in competition. So I went with like an oblong gold mirror that kind of brings in the color scheme that I have throughout my home already. Again, we want to be consistent with our color scheme. But I wanted to, like I said, place it opposite the artwork so that it's reflecting something good, but it's also really practical and useful to me when I'm coming in and out of the home to make sure, okay, I've done my last looks, I look good, I have on the right outfit, I remembered everything, and I am good to go. Now, I will also say, don't place your mirror directly opposite the door. That is something I see people get wrong sometimes. And when you do that, you're just kind of reflecting the outdoors. You're not reflecting anything beautiful, even though the space outside your house might be great. You're not reflecting anything beautiful in your home, which means you're not elongating the space and, you know, taking advantage of the optical illusion that comes with adding a mirror to an entryway or any other space in the home. The very last design tip I want to share for your entryway, for your awkward entryway, is to be really, really intentional with the decor that you add. In an entryway, it's really easy to go overboard with decor because we're like, oh, it's a console, oh, it's a bookshelf. I want to style it the same way that I'd style it elsewhere in the home. But again, the entryway is really prone to clutter because you're coming in and out all the time. Jackets end up there, shoes end up there, hockey sticks end up there, miscellaneous items end up there. So you do not want to give yourself more opportunity to do that. So what I like to do is I'll style one thing really practically and one thing a little bit more impractically. So the thing that you see when you first come in the home, I'm going with the impractical item. I'm going with this vase with its faux florals here. It adds a pop of greenery to the entryway. It brings a little bit of the outdoors indoors, and it's fun to look at. But on the other sideboard here, you can see that I am actually adding a tray for my keys, a lamp so that I can actually see what I'm doing when I come home late at night, and a diffuser to make sure that it smells good. So I'm really balancing the practical with the impractical. You want to make sure that you're not adding too many decorative bowls or vases or too many trays, because you don't want to encourage yourself to put things down. That's why we're doing really minimal things and keeping it super simple. Plus it looks cute, and whenever you're doing your entryway, just continue to think about the rule of 3, right? You want to group things in groupings of 3, and you don't necessarily want to go overboard. When it comes to an entryway, less is more. So like I always say, you want to have a tray for your keys, your wallet, things like that, or a bowl. You might want to have some sort of lighting, and then beyond that, you can have fun. So that third item can be something more fun, something a little bit more impractical, but less is totally more for the entryway. So now we have a functional and fully decorated entryway. I love the way it turned out. I love that I was able to honestly reuse most of the things that I had in my home and then DIY some really affordable art, thanks to the Cricut Explore 3. Again, a big thanks to Cricut for sponsoring today's video. And if you want to pick up a Cricut Explore 3 yourself to make artwork like this or labels or anything else, because the opportunities are truly endless with the Cricut, click the link down in my description box. I am a Cricut fan and I know that you're gonna love it too. If you liked today's video, please don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and check me out on Instagram. And until next time, have a beautiful day.